What's up, guys? Ryan here, and I wanted to do a new Oh the Horror finally after all this time, and I've been wanting to do this movie for quite some time now. This is a movie that when I was younger I used to always rent at the video store, and I never picked it up on DVD because I kept finding it, and it's just a really bare bones DVD, and I kept maybe hoping that something else would come out or I'd find it for a good price, and eventually I just had to go ahead and get it. And of course, as you see by the title, it is Warlock. A 1989 Steve Miner flick, who, of course, Steve Miner, who directed House and Friday the 13th Part 2. But he did this movie, and like I said, I don't think it gets... It's not that it's underappreciated, that's not what I'm looking for. You rarely hear about it. You rarely hear about people doing videos on it or talking about it, at least I find. I don't know if it's that a lot of people haven't seen it. I doubt that, because like I said, it was at like just about any video store I can remember when I was a kid. It was always around. And anyway, the film stars Julian Sands as the Warlock. He does a pretty awesome job of that. What did I see him on recently? He was on an episode of Castle, I think, so he's still acting, and he still looks pretty much the same. It also has Richard Grant as, I think his name is like Redfern? Yeah, Redfern. I watched this a couple of weeks ago. It was the last time I'd seen it. And he's like this, I don't know exactly what you want to call him. He's like a hunter-trapper. Anyway, the idea of the story is that it's like the 1600s, and this this warlock, this witch, is going to be burned at the stake kind of thing. And, which is Julian Sands' character. And Richard Grant must have caught him. And you don't really know the backstory right away to that, and I won't give it away, but he caught him, and he's some kind of like witch tracker, he's clearly some kind of tracker anyway, and he has all these weird ways of tracking witches and warlocks and stuff, and he has hunted him down and caught him, but the warlock gets away, and what he does to get away is he goes through a time warp. To get him, Richard Grant's character, like I said, Redfern, he jumps through the portal after him, and it ends up in like Los Angeles in the, like I said, late 80s. And then you have Laurie Singer, who, she's one of those faces you see everywhere. She's right here. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that she was in, but she's one of those faces, like I said, and she plays this sort of, really strong female character from the late 80s, and she ends up in the middle of all this, and what's happening is the Warlock is, like, hunting down items that he needs to basically resurrect his father, who is Satan. And that's why they have the subtitle here, Satan only has one son. And so that's basically the plot of the movie, and Redfern's trying to stop him. This one, I guess, is sort of like a guilty pleasure, because I can't say that this movie is awesome or anything like that. It's just one that I've watched so many times. Like when I was a kid, I used to rent it all the time, and I've seen it so many times that I get enjoyment out of it. But in watching it again, it was almost on level with like watching the Leprechaun movies again, but it wasn't quite. There isn't like any spectacular gore effects. In fact, they kind of shy away from the gore in this. There's a couple of gory-esque scenes. There isn't a whole lot, I guess, in that department to really keep you watching it. But it's sort of almost like a fantasy movie in a way, and there's decent action. It moves along at a decent pace. I think if you did watch it, you would get at least some entertainment out of it, but entertainment value out of it. But it's almost like I can't recommend it, because in watching it again, I can see that some people would probably watch this movie and be like, "This movie sucks. Why did you tell us to watch this?" But like I said, it's just got that nostalgia factor, I guess, for me. And it has a pretty storied past, I must say, too. The reason I ever watched this movie was when I was a kid. It was around, I guess it might have been around like 94 or something in that area. And it was all over the news in Canada. I don't know if it was in the States or anything like that, but there was a kid in, I want to say, it was definitely the prairies. I think it was Saskatchewan anyway. And he watched the movie a bunch of times, and there's a scene in the movie where it's pretty. It's not gruesome, of course. You don't really. I shouldn't say anything else about it, but there's a scene in the film where the Warlock meets up with this kid and talks to him on a playground and stuff, and finds out that he's not baptized, and then you find out down the road that if the Warlock drinks the fat of an unbaptized child, he can fly, and he gets the ability to fly in the movie, which is kind of crazy. But what happened was this kid saw this movie so many times, he thought he would get powers from doing something like that, and he actually like roped this really young kid. I think he might have been a teenager at the time himself. What's his name? Oh man, like a couple of weeks ago I looked it up. Sandy Charles, I think. So if you look up Sandy Charles, I think you'll find it. And he basically he roped this poor young 8-year-old kid into doing this. I don't know how, peer pressure kind of thing. And they went and they found this little kid that they knew, I guess, and they said, let's go play some baseball, and they killed the kid. And the older guy, like I said, he cut off pieces of the kid's body and like boiled them and ate them, thinking he would gain abilities and powers like the Warlock did. And he was tried. I think he ended up getting insane. He ended up taking an insane plea, and he's in a hospital. And I remember hearing a couple of years ago, actually, that he had escaped. And apparently he escaped, but they caught him, like, just kind of wandering around, maybe a couple hours later or something like that. And and I guess he's pretty messed up. He himself, like he said when he was in the trial, that he heard voices that told him to do it, stuff like that. So clearly he's schizophrenic and stuff like that. It's not one of those stories where it should be, the movie drove him to do it. It's that he was already sort of mentally unstable, and this sort of gave him maybe an outlet, which is kind of unfortunate. But it didn't really stop the movies. I know that there was 2 sequels to this flick. Around that time, there was the Warlock Armageddon, I think it was called, and it was like a direct sequel to this one. It actually had Julian Sands back as the Warlock. I've seen that one. I haven't seen it many times. I really feel like watching it again after seeing this to see if it's a better movie. And I know there was a third film too. Came out way later, like around 2000. The End of Innocence, I think it was called. And I think that one didn't really have the same characters or anything like that. So it might be the Warlock, but another actor. I don't know. I've never seen that one, to be honest. I remember seeing it at video stores, but just wasn't interested in getting it because I was thinking it's just a direct-to-DVD sequal. This at least had a theatrical run, I believe. But yeah, it's unfortunate that kid, Sandy Charles, did this sort of thing, but and it's sort of, like I said, like a stigma on the movie. But I guess hearing about that, we were like, oh, we got to see this movie, this kid, And what's funny at the time, it was sort of one of those things. It was like a rumor. I don't know, a play school rumor, or a schoolyard rumor. I don't know if I said play school. Schoolyard rumor that sort of got around, and for years I didn't think it was true. And then I was watching TV one day, and this weird show was on, Creepy Canada, where they go to like different haunted sites in Canada, and they actually did a piece on this case. And so I was like, oh my god, that's actually real. And I ended up looking it up and stuff like that. It's fairly shocking that all went down, but. Like I said, I can't really recommend the movie even. It's just something that I really liked and wanted to talk about. Like I said, I still think it's well acted, or at least decently acted. It's got some... I guess it's not plot holes, but there's like one scene in particular that always comes to mind where I always wondered... It's funny, going back and looking up information on it, there was a couple of deleted scenes, which I guess will never make a DVD because this is the most bare-bones DVD ever. Like, look at the DVD even. All they did was print the name on it. And like on the back when they were trying to like put information down about it, they put color and how long it was, 103 minutes, and they put this mysterious number there. And anyway, I looked it up, and it's just like the like, I don't know, stock number for the movie. I don't know, they were just running out of ideas to put on the back of this. But anyway, there's a couple of deleted scenes. I guess they altered a scene in the film where he needs to find these pages to this book, the Grand Grimoire, and he ends up finding a way to do that. Again, I won't say how, but there was another gorier version of that scene that I guess looked pretty silly, and I can imagine why when I read about it. I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to ruin the movie, but all I'll say is that if you do watch it or you do know the scene that I'm talking about where he gets the eyes, the original scene involved this woman having like eyes where her nipples were or something, and I guess it just looked ridiculous, so they reshot the scene. But there's also another scene. I can't remember exactly what happens, but he uses some weird like rooster, like a weather vane or something, to track. That's how he tracks Redfern in the movie. But he never does that in this. They cut the scenes out with that. So there's this scene where all of a sudden the Warlock is in. He finds them somewhere. And you're like, well, how did he find them? How would he even know they were there, kind of thing? And I guess you just sort of say, well, he's a warlock. He figured it out. But I always kind of wondered, like, how he did that. And when I read about the deleted scenes, it was funny that that they, that was how it was originally planned. But yeah, like I don't know. I like the story to it too. I wish that it's a good story, and I think they actually started doing a comic book of it in like 2009. Although I've never heard of it and never saw it anywhere. But it is a really good story. Even if you don't like the film. It's just an interesting sort of idea, but I guess I'll stop talking about Warlock. But I don't know, it's like I said, it's one of those guilty pleasures maybe for myself, and I just wanted to talk about it. Oh, and I had to mention this too. Like I said, I really liked Warlock when I was a kid, so I had to get my hands on the video game. As you can see, it was previously played for $25 at the time. This one's actually, like, even though it's just called Warlock, it's actually based on that other movie I told you about, Warlock Armageddon, where you have to collect these, like, runes and you're a druid. I remember the first time I played it, though, I hadn't seen the sequel, and it really confused me, because in the game you're using magic and stuff, and I was like, the guy in this was just a tracker. Like, why would he be using magic? And you're traveling through different time periods and trying to get these runes. I was like, that's nothing like the movie, but it turns out it was based on the sequel, and they just called it Warlock. Well, here we go. It's an LJN release. I wouldn't be surprised if you see this on an episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd at some time. Although I think it's so obscure you might not even know it exists, but somebody might send it along to them. It's just a very boring and sometimes unbelievably difficult and just not that interesting of a game. It plays all right, like although sometimes it's sometimes really annoying fighting enemies because you just can't dodge them. But I don't know, it's pretty crappy. I was thinking I might just play a little bit of it here and give you guys a view of it, but I don't know if I really need to do that. I haven't played it in a long time though. But I remember you have this like orb thing you like throw and you can shoot and you can pick up like items along the way to heal yourself and things like that. But like I said, not a very great game. But yeah, that's Warlock the video game. Like I said, I really did like this movie back in the day, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. So I want to thank you guys for watching. And I have another, another movie I wanted to talk about that I might do the video for right now. Hopefully I'll have it up at least by the end of the week. But regardless, thank you guys for watching. I will talk to you soon, and peace. So as I was taking the video off my camera, I noticed the size of it, and I thought I would show you guys. I don't know if you can see that too well. There we go. Now, what do you think about this? Huh? Coincidence? I think not.